it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new recent reads video. The first book on this list is called Lucha and the Nectar of Immortality. For those who don't know, this book is middle grade fantasy, and it's the last book in the Lucha series, and this book is also one of my most anticipated 2022 new releases, and thankfully it lived up to my expectations. I rated this book 4 stars because it was really good. First of all, the world building is absolutely so interesting, and it was so intriguing, and it was so immersive and engaging. Second of all, the plot was so engaging, and it was absolutely so fast-paced and so action-packed, and I really enjoyed it. Third of all, the characters are so well developed and so distinct. This author crafts characters like no other. She is literally so talented, and I will gladly read more books from her in the future because her books continue to be so awesome and so amazing. And this book was so good because it was absolutely no exception. You know what I mean? Like, this book was absolutely so awesome, and it lived up to all of my expectations, and I really enjoyed it. So with that, I would highly recommend it. And I would highly recommend this entire series because it's so awesome and it's so amazing. So anyway, with that said, I would highly recommend this book. The next book on this list is called An Occasionally Happy Family. This book is a middle-grade contemporary, and it follows a young boy who's going on a family road trip with his dad and his sister, which is the first one that they've done since his mom passed away, only to discover that his dad has a new girlfriend. This book was so good, and it was so wonderful, and it was absolutely so lovely that I rated it 4 stars because I really enjoyed it. First of all, the story was so readable because it was so engaging, and it was absolutely so intriguing. Second of all, the characters were so well developed and so distinct. The family dynamic felt really authentic and really realistic, if that makes any sense. I feel like authentic and realistic are synonyms, and I probably shouldn't have used them in the same sentence, but that's an annoying habit of mine. Anyway, the plot was so engaging, and it was absolutely so good that I was so emotionally attached and emotionally invested in the events and in the characters. So with that said, I will gladly read more from the author in the future because his writing was so lyrical, and it was so wonderful, and it was absolutely so lovely. Like, this book is so good, and it's also so underrated. So anyway, with all of that said, I rated this book 4 stars because I really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Sophie The Bone Song. This book is a YA sapphic fantasy, and it follows a young girl who sets out to expose her rival for illegal use of magic, only to discover that the deception goes deeper than she originally thought, and there's a trigger warning on this book for emotional abuse. If I'm being honest with you, I rated this book 3 stars. I already had pretty low expectations for it because I've DNF'd the author's previous book, Sweet and Bitter Magic, like multiple times because I kept giving it second chance after second chance because that book is so well loved that I really wanted to like it too, but I just never did. So anyway, with this book, I rated it 3 stars because frankly, the magic system was pretty easy to understand, which made it less immersive for me than I really wanted it to be. And even though the sapphic romance was cute and it was well developed and it was quite lovely, the plot was engaging, and like I said, it was intriguing and whatnot. The characters were well developed and distinct, but nothing about this book felt super memorable, although there was really nothing about it that I actively disliked either, if that makes any sense. So basically, I rated this book 3 stars because I didn't absolutely fall in love with it, but I didn't absolutely hate it either. So with all that said, I think I understand the hype because I definitely understand why other people would love it because like I said, it's fairly easy to understand. You know what I mean? But I personally don't really recommend it because it's not really my cup of tea, but I objectively recommend it because I understand the hype. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but basically, I rated this book 3 stars because it's not super memorable. So yeah, take that as you will. The next book on this list is called Howl. This book is a YA contemporary with a paranormal twist. I don't know how I would describe it actually. I don't really know. Anyway, I rated it 3 stars because it follows a young boy who's attacked by a monster, but nobody believes him. And this book went a completely different direction than I was expecting, even though I've read many books by this author in the future, so you'd think that I would have expected that this story is full of unexpected surprises. But for me, maybe it's because the ending didn't really make any sense to me. This book felt more jarring than cohesive. And I think that's the main reason why I didn't really like it as much as I was really expecting to. You know what I mean? Like, the characters didn't really stand out to me. The plot was intriguing in the beginning and in the middle, but since the ending didn't really make any sense to me, and honestly, retrospectively, I don't know if it was like supposed to make sense. You know what I mean? Like, some stories are just bizarre for the sake of being bizarre, but I don't know if this book was supposed to be like that. You know what I mean? Like, the books that I've read by this author in the past did make sense and were kind of bizarre, but like, it was making sense. But this book like didn't make sense. You know what I mean? And I don't know how to explain what didn't make sense without spoiling it. But anyway, aside from the unexpected, surprising ending that didn't really make any sense, the plot was engaging and it was interesting in the beginning. The characters still didn't really stand out to me, which is something I did expect, because that's what happened with Weird Ants. Anyway, the point is, I rated this book 3 stars. I don't exactly recommend it, and there's that. The next book on this list is called The Drowning Summer. First of all, I would like to apologize for the birds tweeting in the background if you can hear them at all. I know that I'm apologizing for the background noise, but not like doing anything about it is a constant recurring theme in my videos, but honestly, there is nothing I can do about it, which is why I keep apologizing for it. Anyway, the point is, this book is a YA sapphic paranormal contemporary that follows a pair of bisexual girls who are investigating this murder mystery that happened in their small town 6 years ago when 3 teenagers drowned, and they're also falling for each other as it happens. You know what I mean? Not as it happens because like the murder was 6 years ago, but like as it happens by like as the story progresses. I hope that makes sense. Basically, I rated this book 3 stars because I didn't really love it. Like, the second half of this story wasn't as good as the first half, if that makes any sense. The plot was intriguing and it was interesting. I didn't really love the paranormal elements because this book was more paranormal than I was expecting, and there were some side characters involved in the ending of the story that I wasn't really expecting them to be, if that makes any sense. But I did enjoy the sapphic romance, and the bisexuality representation was very casual, so we loved to see it. And the characters themselves, frankly, didn't really stand out to me that much, but like, honestly, I should have expected that. You know what I mean? Like, this author is the author of the Devouring Grey duology, which I didn't really love, but I liked better than this book, and she also co-wrote All of Us Villains, which is one of my least favorite books of 2021, so I already had low expectations for this book. So essentially, this book lived up to those expectations, but it didn't exceed them. So this book is a standalone, and I'm really glad that it is, because if there was a sequel, I wouldn't be continuing it. So basically, with all that said, I rated this book 3 stars because it's not super memorable, like the previous book on this list. So anyway, like I said, take it as you will, because I don't really recommend this book at all. The penultimate book on this list is called With and Without You. This book is a YA contemporary that follows a young girl who's about to start a long-distance relationship with her boyfriend, whom she's been with for the past 3 years. And if I'm not mistaken, this book is based off of the author's real-life relationship in real life, which took away from my enjoyment of the book, because since I knew that, this story felt very predictable. So like, it wasn't really like immersive or really intriguing to me, although I kept reading it, because actually I don't really know why. I should have DNF'd this book actually, because the characters didn't really stand out to me. The romance was cute and it was pretty fluffy and like happy and everything, but since I knew pretty much how the story was going to end, it wasn't really like super immersive for me. So I didn't really like fall in love with the characters, or with the romance, or with the story, or really with anything, and now I'm more hesitant about like reading more books from this author duo in the future, because this book wasn't really that good. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but basically I rated this book 3 stars because frankly it was very disappointing for me. So anyway, with that said, I don't really recommend this book at all. The last book on this list is called Queen of the Tiles. This book is a YA thriller that follows a young girl who's investigating her best friend's murder from the year prior, and it's set during a weekend Scrabble competition. I hope that makes sense. Basically, I rated this book 3 stars, and it's also marketed as They Wish They Were Us meets The Queen's Gambit, which already lowered my expectations because I DNF They Wish They Were Us. And I haven't seen The Queen's Gambit yet, but I kind of want to. But anyway, this book wasn't that great, and it kind of reminded me of why I typically dislike YA thrillers, because typically I find YA thrillers to be predictable, and in this book, it was kind of predictable with like the ending and like the villain reveal. You know what I mean? Like when the plot twist at the end was revealed, for me it wasn't like, oh my gosh, that's so insane, I can't believe that happened. It was more like, oh, yeah, duh. Like they were already on my list of suspects, so it didn't really like shock me the way that it was like supposed to. You know what I mean? Also, I don't love stories that are set over a short amount of time, because even though it means that the plot is very engaging and very intriguing, because the author has to tell such a story in such a short amount of time, on the other hand, it means that the characters didn't really stand out to me, because they didn't really feel like fully developed. You know what I mean? Anyway, with all that said, I rated this book 3 stars. I should really stop reading books due to FOMO. So, yeah, I don't really recommend this book at all, which is a constant recurring theme in this video, so we hate to see it. Anyway, like I mentioned, I don't really recommend this book at all. So, in conclusion, if I'm being honest with you, I don't typically film recent reads videos where I include lots of books that I didn't really like, so filming this video was like a new thing for me. So let me know in the comment section below if you want me to include more books that I actively disliked more often. So anyway, the 2 books on this list that I do highly recommend are Lucha and the Nectar of Immortality and An Occasionally Happy Family, because those are the only 2 books on this list that I rated 4 stars, because the rest of the books on this list were mediocre and disappointing, so I don't recommend them at all. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the tiger emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!